Toyota just did something that technically shouldn't be possible. While every other car maker is killing off their smallest cars or turning them into heavy, expensive EVs, Toyota went the other way. They took their tiniest, cheapest city car and shoved a massive powertrain inside it. This isn't just a facelift, it's a complete transplant. For years, the Aygo was the car you bought because it was cheap. It had a tiny 1.0-liter engine that sounded like a sewing machine and struggled to get up steep hills. But that engine is gone, dead. In its place is something that changes the physics of this car entirely. They've taken the 1.5-liter hybrid system from the much larger Yaris and squeezed it into this tiny footprint. That means this is now the only full hybrid in the entire segment. But here's the catch. Usually when you add a hybrid battery and motors to a car this small, you ruin it. You lose the trunk space, you make it heavy, you destroy the handling. So, how did they fit 2 stacks of battery cells and a bigger engine into a car that's barely longer than a park bench? The engineering here is actually kind of wild. Instead of stacking the batteries in the trunk like lazy manufacturers do, they reshaped the fuel tank and slid the batteries under the rear seats. Nobody does this in this segment. The result? You keep the trunk space, you keep the low center of gravity, but now you have a pulse. Let's talk about what happens when you hit the pedal, because this is where the old Aygo falls apart and this new one wakes up. The old car had about 72 horsepower. It felt like it was gasping for air. This new one jumps to 116 horsepower. That might not sound like a supercar number, but in a vehicle this light, it feels like a rocket ship compared to the old one. 0 to 60 isn't the point here. It's 0 to 30. You're at a stoplight. The light turns green. Because of the electric motor, the torque is instant. You don't wait for revs to build, you just zip. It launches you into gaps in traffic that you wouldn't dare attempt in the old model. And the noise, or rather the lack of it, that's the second surprise. City cars are usually tin cans. You hear every pebble, every wind gust, every tire rotation. Toyota threw 7 different types of noise-damping materials at this thing. They put insulation in the dashboard, the hood, the floor. When you're cruising in EV mode, which it does a lot more than you'd expect, it's eerily quiet. It feels expensive, and that's a weird word to use for an Aygo. But the real magic trick isn't the engine, it's the suspension. Look at these wheels. They are massive, 18 inches. On a car this size, 18-inch wheels usually mean your spine shatters every time you hit a pothole. Big wheels look cool, but they ride terrible. Somehow, this thing rides better than the Yaris. It floats over bumps that used to send the old car bouncing into the next lane. And if you want to get aggressive, they've introduced something nobody asked for, but everyone secretly wanted: the GR Sport. Now don't get too excited, this isn't a GR Yaris. It doesn't have 300 horsepower. But it's not just stickers and badges either. They actually retuned the shock absorbers and the coil springs. They stiffened the anti-roll bars. They recalibrated the steering to be sharper. When you throw the GR Sport into a roundabout, it sits flat. It grips. It feels like a frantic little puppy that wants to play. It's genuinely fun in a way that eco boxes aren't supposed to be. Let's look inside, because this is where the cheap car stigma usually hits hardest. Most city cars feel like you're sitting inside a Tupperware container. Hard plastic everywhere. Toyota did something clever with the materials here. They're using this stuff called Sakura Touch. It's a plant-derived material made from wood pulp and corn waste. I know it sounds like a salad, but it feels like leather. It's perforated, it has this cool stitching, and it drops the carbon footprint of the interior by 95% compared to real leather. You touch the steering wheel, and it feels premium. Then you look at the screen. It used to be a tiny 4-inch calculator screen. Now it's a high-def 9-inch display with wireless everything. It finally feels like a car from 2026, not 2015. But here's where things get weird. Toyota calls this a crossover. They raised the ride height by 11 millimeters. They gave it plastic cladding. They gave it a pagoda roof to help aerodynamics. Does it feel like an SUV? Absolutely not. You are still sitting low. You are still tiny. But that extra inch of height does something for visibility that you notice immediately in traffic. You aren't looking up at door handles anymore. You're looking drivers in the eye. And we have to talk about the colors. Usually car colors are boring. Silver, black, white. They have a mellow spice theme here. Cinnamon, jasmine, tarragon. The paint quality, specifically on the bitone models where the black roof wraps around the back, looks like a custom paint job. It makes the car look dense, solid. But the number that actually matters? 85. That's the grams of CO2 per kilometer. It is the lowest of any non-plug-in car on the market. You drive this thing like a maniac, wringing out the engine, having fun, and you look down at the fuel gauge and it hasn't moved. It sips fuel like a bird. And because it's a self-charging hybrid, you never plug it in, you just drive. It regenerates energy when you brake, using a new aggressive regen mode that almost feels like one-pedal driving, and dumps it back into acceleration. So is it perfect? No. The back seats are still tight. If you're 6 feet tall, you aren't sitting behind yourself. It's strictly a 4-seater. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe for more content just like this. Leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions. I read every single one. And don't forget to click the bell icon to get notified about my next upload. See you in the next video.